Beloved, welcome back. I thought it would take a hour or so, maybe a couple, and jump on a live stream. If you watch my last video, you probably understand or explain why I was in Mexico, and I've gotten a really positive response from that video, and there's a lot of questions, and so I would thought that would be a perfect opportunity on the heels of that. We take a moment and I can answer any questions that you might have. If you're just joining us, Mrs. W and I were down in Las Vegas about 3 weeks ago, and I started having a lot of trouble with an infected tooth, and it was getting really bad, radiating down into my neck. And I remember growing up, I grew up in a really bizarre Christian cult, and one of the tenets of the faith was they absolutely forbid us to seek any sort of medical care. Let me pop out the stream here. Pop out the chat. There we go. Minimize that. There we go. One second. And so I guess they absolutely forbid us to seek any sort of medical attention. Now, one exception that they held was dentistry for some reason. But I remember a good friend of my mother's she was sick for a long time on death's door, and no one really knew what was wrong with her. And after suffering for so long, and she was down to like 80 pounds, someone got the idea that maybe she's having a problem with an infected tooth, and she went into the dentist. They actually had to carry her in there, and they extracted the tooth, and she recovered from that. So I knew that it was dangerous, and I looked into it, and I realized after I looked into it a little bit, I realized how bad it is for you to have problems in your mouth. It can cause high blood pressure. It can be a death sentence. It's very dangerous. So I was concerned about this. As I said in the video, I had not been to a dentist for 20 years or so, and I had a morbid fear of dentistry. And at Las Vegas, I kind of suffered through it, and it got worse and worse. And I got back, and I realized I'm going to have to do something about this. And that's when I went online. And I'll just briefly retell the story. When I kind of got estimates and figured about what it was going to cost me to have my teeth corrected after 25 years of neglect, it was going to be close to $60,000-$70,000. Being self-employed, we don't have health insurance, and I just didn't know how we were going to swing that. So I started looking for alternatives, and I became aware of a lot of people from all over the world, American and Canadians, have go down to Mexico. And I'd never considered that before. And I thought, I've been to Mexico before, and, it's definitely not up to the standard as maybe you would expect. But I read a lot of good reports, and people seem to be very happy with it. So I booked the tickets and went down there. And I'm not going to go over the whole thing. If you are interested in this, or if you are suffering from having problems with your teeth, and you just don't have the money, or you're just too fearful to go and have it taken care of, it might be a good option for you. So I just got back from Mexico. I was down there for a week by myself, got all my teeth fixed, got a beautiful Hollywood smile, and I had a really nice experience for the whole thing. So I'll open this up here. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer that. My experience, I'm not the expert on it, but I did learn a great deal, and I came away with it with a lot of knowledge. So we have a super chat from our brother Damien, Tooth Fairy Money from Northeast Iowa. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you for your generosity. And to get everything done, I know price is always a concern. I had, you can see, I had all my teeth done in zirconian. I didn't have to have any extractions. I had to have one root canal, and I was able to keep all of my teeth. And the total cost for that, and it was 4 days of work, was a little over $12,000. And I thought that that was pretty good, especially when I was figuring, getting up to 70,000 wouldn't have missed it by too far to have it done in the States. So I was very happy about that, and something I've been put off for a long time. And like you just don't realize the psychological effects it has on you when you're self-conscious about your smile, um, and you really feel like you're going to be judged. And I know that that's just the way that it is. I know that the general understanding is if I see someone and their teeth are clean and bright and they have a nice smile, I make judgments about that. Whereas I've growing up in the trades and working in construction, those guys never had any dental care, and so many of those guys were missing teeth and rotten teeth. And it's an important thing. It's just there's the medical side of it, which of course is very important, but don't underestimate what it's like to have your smile back. Again, I haven't been able to smile. You get into a habit of having kind of a grin, and I look at myself in pictures for the last year or so and never showing your teeth because you're self-conscious about it. Or if you do laugh and you're in a group of people, you cover your mouth, things like that. So it's an incredible experience. My teeth have gotten so bad that now that I have perfect teeth and everything in alignment, I am going to have to kind of relearn how to talk. Just I have a little bit of a lisp from just not being used to my teeth being correct. So do you have any questions, comments? Bring those up there. Mr. Gabriel, thank you. I appreciate that super chat for the Tooth Fairy. We have a super chat from Matt White. It says, leaning towards a Glock 19X to replace my P95 as a CCW. Anything else I should consider? Carry CCW food? But yeah, I think you have to understand that the G19X it's a pretty big carry. A G19X, if you don't know, it's a Glock that has a full-size handle. So it has the handle of a Glock 17, but it has the short slide. So it actually is kind of the best of both worlds, especially if you're a larger guy and you have big hands. It's really nice to be able to get all your hands on it. And it's got all the latest, greatest stuff. It's probably the best and most reliable, one of the most thoroughly tested that Glock owns. And there's not too much you need to do to it. What I have found with concealed carry, I like very much to have a light, and having a light inside the waistband holster is very difficult. It makes it just a lot bigger. But if you're going to carry kind of off body in a fupa or a fanny pack, something like that, then it works really, really good. So I would encourage you to get one. It's my favorite. If that's all that I had, I could get rid of all my other Glocks, and I would be happy with that. I think it makes a great carry. But just understand it is a little bit bigger. It's going to be a little bit harder to hide that handle. I know that the Warband, many of them like to carry. They'll go back and forth between that one, and I don't know the model, but it's the single stack. I know they like that too. It's pretty popular. So I would think that would be a very good choice. That's what I carry. Mr. Josh C. Boy, I didn't realize I was speaking odd or having a little bit of a lisp, but I can hear it now that you brought it up. It's going to take me a while to retrain myself with teeth that aren't all crooked and missing. Our beloved brother and member, Mr. Josh C., good to see you in the house, says, glad you're back. Based on your experience, would you consider other medical procedures in Mexico? I may. When I was down there, staying in the hacienda, there were a lot of Americans that were down there, and it was quite enjoyable. I met some really wonderful people from all over the country, and many of them were older, boomers or retired snowbirds, and they were down there for some medical procedures. One thing that was really popular down there was stem cells, and stem cells were pretty affordable. I don't really have any problems or injuries per se nor do I really understand much about that. But I do know that there were folks down there that had suffered with arthritis. These are people that I spoke with. arthritis, and problems with joints and such. And they went down there every 6 months or so for stem cell therapy, and they raved about it. How do you really know? How do you quantify something like that? That was their perception, but I guess I would consider that. I know I have heard good things about that. But as far as other medical procedures, I guess I'd have to look into that. I can't really say. But my experience, limited as it was very, very positive. And I'll tell you, I was really nervous about it. It was really concerning to me being in Mexico right when President Trump was coming into office, and there was a lot of talk of border security and immigration and kicking folks out, and I didn't know if I was going to get in a bind there. So that furthermore added to my anxiety. But there was not a problem, and the people were really, really delightful, and I would go down there and may go down there in another year. We have a super chat from our brother, Mr. Ryan. Thank you, Josh, for that. Mr. Ryan Rifle. How much ammo is enough? The wife and I keep a spreadsheet of every single round. Before COVID, with all of the fear, and we didn't really know what was going on. I was very nervous about that, and I just couldn't get enough ammunition, and I really, really stocked up. In hindsight, the idea of setting up a barricade and going to war and going to battle against roving zombie hordes, all that, now that I can kind of look at it, I think it's just a little bit silly. I think there are other things that are as or maybe more important, like food storage and making sure you have a good, reliable water supply, water filtration, that sort of thing. So I would say it like this. Let's say that you were just starting from scratch and you only had so many resources. What would I consider? I would consider first, I look at 5 different ammunition sources. I would have 5 rifles. The first thing, starting from the smallest to the biggest, I would have a 22 long rifle. I would recommend something like a Ruger 1022, affordable, very reliable, lots of accessories. And for a 22, I'd like to have about 5,000 rounds. The 22 rifle is super versatile. You can hunt with it. You can carry a ton of ammunition. And I know people say, well, I wouldn't be afraid of a 22, but I would be afraid of a 22. I believe I've heard statistics in the past that the 22 caliber, more people are unalived by that caliber than any other. And it might just be because it's so ubiquitous and so available. But with good shot placement, you can kill small animals, birds. It's not too loud. Again, you can carry a ton of ammunition. It's really a wonderful, wonderful caliber. So I would start with that, and I'd have 2,500 rounds or so minimum for that. They're pretty affordable, and that's a good place to start. After that, I would look at a handgun. And you'd probably want to get into a 9mm. 9mm is pretty much the standard, pretty affordable to shoot. And I would say that for a 9mm, I'd have 500 rounds. 500 rounds of FMJ, and I would have 100 rounds or so of personal defensive rounds. Let's say a good hollow point, something that you're going to have in your concealed carry. So I'd have 500 rounds for that. Next, I would have an AR-15 and 5.56. And for that, I would have 1,000 rounds. 1,000 rounds. And I store these in, go get yourself some of those green ammo boxes. And I watched, what's his name? The Sheriff of Baghdad. I've been watching his YouTube videos, and he's got some great information. And there's very few guys with more experience than that. He just did a video and showed ways to store ammo that I thought were pretty insightful. He takes a piece of cardboard, I believe it was, or something to absorb a little bit of moisture, and puts that on the bottom so your ammunition is not sitting right on metal. And he puts some of those silica carbide. You can buy those, not carbide, silica pouches like you get in electronics and such, which will attract water. And you can buy those on Amazon. They're really affordable, and throw a handful of those in there. And it's a really good way to store your ammo, and label them so you know what's in there. And then I'd have that. And then I'd look at a 12 gauge shotgun, 22 9mm 5.56, a 12 gauge shotgun, like a Mossberg 500, or what I prefer would be a Remington 870. Buy a Remington 870, a police Magnum. You can shoot the big 3-inch rounds with the 18.5-inch barrels, portable. You can hunt birds. You can hunt big game with those with a slug. And I'd have 250 rounds or so of that. Maybe an assortment, 100 rounds of slug, and maybe some bird shot and some buckshot. Just a good a real versatile firearm. And then to round it all out, in a perfect world, the fifth, I would choose a good, reliable center fire rifle, a hunting rifle with a scope on it, a 4X at minimum, a 10X fixed is a good way to go. A 3 to 9, any good hunting scope, just get a good brand, buy a Leupold or older Redfield, something that's been proven, that's not going to fog up on you. And I'd have a couple hundred rounds, maybe 5 boxes of 20 or so for that of hunting ammunition. But that's what that's what I would start, and I would put you in pretty good a pretty good place there. We have a super chat from Uncommon News 777. Shout out to you and thank you for your generosity. Who writes, would you help me promote a petition in Texas getting legal mechanism for legislature to uphold their oath of office and guarantee the Constitution? I guess I'd need more information on that. I'm not from Texas, but if it's a good cause, I'm never opposed to helping guys out. So just send me an email. You can contact me through my channel and give me a little bit more info on that. And if I can be of help, I'd certainly be willing to do that. But thank you for your super chat. Let's see. Well, I got to back up. I'm missing a few here. We have a super chat from Damian Resner, who writes, Tooth Fairy. Oh, nope. I went way too far back. But thank you for that, Uncommon News. We have super chat from Bonds Creek Knives. Shout out to you. Bonds Creek says, would you be interested in checking out one of our EDC knives? I've been a big fan of your years, and I do all this myself in West Virginia. Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. First off, it's got to be made in the States. I would not be interested in promoting anything, or Japan. I like Japan as well. I would not be interested in promoting or even looking at anything that's made in Asia or China or Taiwan. Well, maybe Taiwan's not different too. Taiwan actually makes pretty good knives. I guess as long as it's good quality. I'll just leave it with that. My policy on that is, if you want to send one, I would be happy to take a look at it, but I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to make a dedicated video on it or mention it at all. If I don't like it, I'm just not feeling it, and it's got nothing to do with your knives. Knives are just so personal that either they move you or they don't. So I would be willing to take a look at it, but I can't make any guarantees. But thank you for that super chat. We have a comment from our friend Mr. Strider. It says, wife and I have prepped and are excited to execute our garden for the year, and have found a local beef farmer to buy our beef from. Good things are coming. Yeah, and that's really that's really a good way to go. That's what Mrs. W and I do. Ribeyes. I don't know where you're living, but where I live, ribeyes for a decent sized one, and this isn't anything fancy. Something to make a decent meal for you is going to cost you $20-$25 a piece at our local market. Let's say that's $100 for 4 of them. You can almost eat out for that. And so what we do is we have a local butcher, and we buy a half or a full. Sometimes it's a good way to go is if you don't have the need or the space for a full beef, which is pretty significant, you can go in with other families and split the cost, even quarter it. We've bought quarters before with 4, but usually we buy a half. We've even had, we bought one a couple of years ago, a half, and we had everything ground into ground beef, including all the steaks and the roasts and everything. And we really enjoyed that. So the The American food supply is so unhealthy. The processed foods, I don't need to beat a dead horse here, but if you can get back to just as simple and clean living as possible, just get yourself good local raised eggs or do your own eggs and just keep simple diet of high protein and know where your food's coming from. Stay away from foods that are just chock full of preservatives and ingredients. Drink pure water the best you can. Avoid eating out of Teflon and plastics, and just have some common sense. Take your shoes off, get yourself grounded, walk around, touch grass once in a while, get out, get some sunshine, get out and walk, get a routine of walking and getting a little bit of exercise. And it's really not that difficult. God's plan for a healthy and prosperous life is actually quite simple. It really doesn't consist of spending a lot of money on expensive supplements. It just is good common sense and just eating pure, clean food. The clothing that you wear, stay away from synthetics, anything made from oil, fleeces, polyesters. Stick with clothing that are cotton or linen or wool. Whatever touches your skin. Really take a look at your cleaning products. Don't have anything in your house that has a lot of scents or additives to it. If you can smell the laundry detergent on your clothing, that's a problem. Stay away from healthcare grooming products that have fluoride in them. Just really take a look and just really clean your house out and try to get as much of those chemicals out as possible. It makes a big difference. Jacob T., what a blessing you have received, brother. God sent you an angel to calm your nerves, and the Father always looks out for us. Yeah, as I said in the video, I have an unnatural and unhealthy fear of dentistry, and that's why I put things off so far. And it finally got to the point where it got so bad, and I was afraid it was going to negatively affect my health that I just had to do it. And I'm just so glad. What I wasn't prepared for was the psychological effect of just the confidence and what it's like to be able to smile again and to not be ashamed of your teeth and it's hard to put a price on that. It really, really is. My brother, the Battle Chemist, welcome, says the second alternator. Very much looking forward to the content coming up this year on the channel. Hope all the Warband are doing well. Yes, I'm looking forward to I'll tell you, Battle Chemist, I just got back from Mexico, and we haven't been doing the live streams, and I just a couple more days. I'm still a little bit under the weather. Poor sweet Loaf has been. She's always been so healthy, but she's been terribly sick the last couple days and has been slept in our room. And Mrs. W and I have just really been watching her and looking after her. She's just had that terrible, terrible sickness. So I'm glad to say that she's kind of coming out of the woods, and we're all really under the weather. I had to travel, just not feeling well, and that even added to my anxiety. And fortunately, we got through all that. But give me a couple more days, and we're going to jump right back in it, and we'll be back up. If you're what I'm talking about is I do a daily live stream for the members in the Warband every morning, Monday through Friday, and if you want to be a part of that, we go through and we do a deep study of God's Word, and we pray for one another. And it's a good group of men. It's a small group, and if you want to have access to that, you just become a member and you'll get the notification. But give me a couple more days. Towards the end of the week, we'll be back up and going, Lord willing. But it's good to see you here. I'll back up here a little bit. Sorry, guys. Super chats are getting ahead of me here. Good to see you here, Dylan. We have a super chat from our brother and member, Mr. Matt White. Matt writes, I don't know what he's writing there. Probit, I own a 5-acre ranch in rural Minnesota. It's paid off. Man, can you imagine that? What a blessing. Make almost 6 figures, own a truck, a van, family vehicle, several weapons, and plenty of ammo. Girlfriend of 2 years. I plan to marry. 33 years old. Well, you're doing everything right, man. You're doing everything right. You're in a very enviable position. Shout out to you. I'm proud of you. That's really well done. Takes a lot of effort to get there. Ask me how I know. We have a super chat from Colostomy Bag. I might change that name if it were mine, but to each his own. PVS 14 or PVS 31 can really only justify 14s. Is it still fun and worth it? Yeah, I would say so. I've had both. So what Colostomy Bag is talking about is night vision. You got a couple choices. So really the big choices is, do you want to go with a monocular or do you want to go with binoculars? Now, I started with monocular. I had a green one and then I had a white one. I sold those and I bought dual tubes, meaning two. So the big difference is that you're not really going to see, your field of view is not going to be much different, really. It's about the same. But what you do get is a lot better depth perception. Now, we have tested these extensively. I'm the only one in the Warband that has dual tubes. The other guys have PVS 14s. And so we go out and do these fun little missions, like one, for example, is I plotted a course where we had to go navigate through the woods and go into a cave and retrieve something and come back out, and everything was fine. We find that the PVS 14 or the 31, you're able to drive at night or ride motorcycles without too much problem. The 31 is better. The dual tube is better because you have that depth perception. But when it comes to navigating over uneven ground, i.e., like we had to go through a boulder field in pitch black inside of a cave. These are big boulders. Some of them were probably 7 or 8 feet tall. And what we found is I could move very quickly over the boulders because I could see I had really good depth perception, where some of the other guys really struggled, and they got through it, they got over it, but they were very, very slow. So that is really the main thing that I saw, was navigating closer up stuff. But to answer your question, is it better to have a PVS 14 than no night vision? I would say yes. And if money was tight, I would rather have a PVS 14 and a good thermal monocular, like I shared with you, the one that Overton bought for me, than dual tubes and no thermal. The thermals is very, very useful. So I would say yes, if your budget is limiting you. Miss Beth Grant DeRoos, good to see you here. Cody, do you think your teeth hurting so much for a long time may have contributed to coming off as grumpy sometimes? Yeah, possibly. It's possible. I do feel, I think going through COVID and all these changes and the great awakening that many of us are going through now, realizing that most of everything that we were taught and told is not true, it's a hard pill to swallow and very discouraging. And you can get to the point, and I went through this for a couple of years or so, especially after COVID, where people call it taking the black pill. What is the point? Everything is so terrible and so dishonest, and everything is a lie, and everything is bad, that it's hard to stay optimistic. And when you look at the future being so dark and living in a country that's in decline, and you look at your children and they're going to inherit this world, I found it very depressing, and I found it difficult not to lose hope and to be depressed. And that being grumpy and angry, maybe not the person that you were before all of that, is, I think, a natural extension of that. But you can make a choice. You can stay in that state, and you can be angry and bitter and resentful that you're living in a country that's in decline and with horrible leadership and just a world that's falling, just getting worse and worse and worse. You can let that eat you up and destroy you, or you can pull yourself back up out of that hole and try to see the good, and be optimistic. And I feel like I really got down into kind of a deep hole in a lot of despair and depression and sadness. And now I don't really see the world that way. I see it. for what it is. I don't necessarily like it, but I'm not going to let it take away my joy or be miserable about it. So it's if I had to say, Beth, I would say that that's probably more, I guess, the reason behind the negativity and being grumpy, as you say, and right, and you're right, very observant. I certainly have struggled with that, but it could be, yeah, teeth as well. If you're not feeling good and you're constantly in pain and you have a headache or nagging, that it's hard to be joyful and cheerful. I know just some personal after. Yeah, I've had my teeth been fixed for the last day I was in the dental chair was last Thursday, and my sleep is improved tremendously. My general sense of well-being, and just there's just a lot of I'm experiencing a lot of changes where I just feel better. I feel better mentally. I feel better physically, and I would say you may be right. I would say that there is some truth to that, and time will tell. I can speak to this more in the future when I'm 6 months in, but so far, just within less than a week, I've noticed tremendous benefits from it. Joe Haas says, I've been on an 80-20-90-10 carnivore diet for the last 4 months, down 44 pounds and feeling 1,000% better. I buy the discount meat and I freeze it. Yeah, that's a good way to go. I just I don't know that there's any silver bullet to improving your life, improving your health, trying to get out of a rut, trying to feel better. The best example I can give you is my dirt bike over here. Maybe you see the wheel sticking out. It's I've been working on it for a long time, tweaking little things, changing things, suspension, engine, seat, carburation, all these things. And there's not any one thing, and it's an extraordinary motorcycle. It feels like an extension. It feels like an extension of my body. It never scares me. It's 100% predictable in any environment. I trust it 1,000%, and it's just an incredible machine. It didn't get that way with putting the right tire on or having the right suspension setting or this or that. It got that way by 100 little things, 100 little things that all work together to make it exceptional and extraordinary. And that's what I think, having peace of mind and having satisfaction in life and feeling better. It's many different things. It's your diet. That's a key component. It's cutting out those sugary drinks and drinking good pure water and clean food. It's a combination of the clothing you put on your back. Your skin is your largest organ, and wearing clothing that is made out of oil and synthetics. A lot of the technical clothing that is so popular is coated in all sorts of water repellents. All of this leaches into your skin. You're under attack with the preservatives in your food. You're under attack with all of the chemicals that are in your laundry detergent. You wear rubber shoes. What's the perfect insulator from electrical current? We operate on electricity, and it separates us from our environment. Rubber is a perfect insulator. And what's on the bottom of all of our shoes? Rubber. Is that by design? I don't know. The adversary attacks us in many ways, and it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that weakens you. So getting footwear and grounding yourself or going barefoot a little bit, an hour or two a day, and getting out and getting some sun on your face. Even the coatings in your glasses, they say that they tell you that the UV rays, they're bad for you. Yet you go back and you look at people that before they wore sunglasses, and there were a lot less cancers and a lot less problems. And I wonder that if even the coatings of the lenses are keeping out beneficial benefits from having pure sunlight in your eyes. And there's just a lot of things. It seems to me that the Almighty is making the saints aware of these all of these environmental things that have causing us problems. We got to look at, why is autism up? Why are cancer rates and sickness and disease off the chart? We're less healthy than we used to be. We got to take a look at our environment and what's causing this. So get back to nature. Cooking on Teflon. Man, Teflon, I can't tell you, gentlemen, one of the most toxic things you can have in your life is to be cooking on Teflon. Teflon is in your waffle iron. It's in your pans. I would, as Jesus went through and cleansed the temple and turned over the money changers' tables. Sorry, I'm learning to re-speak with my new teeth. That fervor, that righteous indignation, that's what I would turn upon chemicals and Teflon and unhealthy things in your home. Don't be eating on aluminum, cooking on aluminum. Get back to cast iron and stainless steel. Get back to things as simple and as clean as possible. We have a super chat from, I'm back up here, from Mr. David Stig. Oh, nope. Still going back here. We have a super chat from, thank you, Joe, for that. From David Stig, who writes, I also just went to Los Algodones for implants. I'm proud you got your smile back. Yeah, that's where I went to. I always forget the name of that place. It's right across the border from Yuma, Arizona. So you can fly into Phoenix. And from Phoenix, it's about a 45-minute flight. Very short, easy, right into Yuma, which is a tiny little airport. I think it's serviced by American Airlines. And then from there, you can drive across the border. You'll have to have a passport. So if you're thinking about doing that, your assignment today would be to get your passport, apply for that, and get that coming. You can even expedite it. You can pay a few extra bucks if you're really in need, and speed that up. But we've had pretty good luck getting passports pretty quickly. And then you can park right there at the border, and you can walk across and rent a car over there. Or if you get hooked up with the dental office there, they'll have someone come and pick you up at the airport. That's what I did, and it was great. Once you're there in town, everything's very small. It's within walking distance. But shout out to you. Thank you, David, for that. And sounds like you and I walked on the same streets there. We have a super chat from Hunter Bradley, who says, hi, Wranglerstar, what life advice would you give an 18-year-old guy who doesn't know what he wants to do with his career or life? The first advice I would give you, a bit of advice I'd give you is to, first off, don't worry about it. You'll have an entire lifetime to grind and to work. Enjoy being 18. Enjoy all the benefits of that. Number two, don't make women the center of your life. I know many of us wasted 10, 20 years that pretty much everything that we did was all based around chasing women and getting the attention of women. I'll tell you what I've learned. What I can tell you now is that will be a huge roadblock to you. You will not find happiness in a woman, nor should you. That's not where it's at. Happiness is found in pursuing your interests and building your wealth and building your empire. So think about, what is it that you like to do? Are you a hands-on guy? Do you like to work in your shop? Do you like tools or working with machines? Think about, what do you do when you have time and you're off time? If you don't know, if you haven't had a lot of experience, then this is a time for you to go out and try new things. Go get a job on a framing crew. Go get signed up and fight wildland fire for a summer. Go work for a mechanic. Go sell cars. Go work on a ranch. Go work for a farmer. Take jobs that will give you exposure to all different sorts of different vocations and different sorts of people. That's half of it. The other half is to travel. That's the time to travel. There's no education like travel. A guy would be better served to take 4 years with a backpack and go walk around Europe and travel, go hostel to hostel, than you would in getting some BS college degree. But get out there and do some things, and always be thinking about it. And then once you kind of hone in on what it is that you enjoy doing, if you like to work with your hands, nail that down and go get yourself a good trade. I think it would be really smart of a guy to go in 2 years through community college. There's some good programs. You can go and get your journeyman electrician certificate. You may find you don't want to be an electrician, but you keep that current and get a CDL too. Get a CDL and get a journeyman electrical certificate, and you'll always have work. There's already reciprocity with a lot of states, but I think the trend is moving to, there's going to be probably legislation. It wouldn't surprise me where a guy that's certified can go work in all 50 states. And you'll always have that to fall back on. It pays a great wage. You're going to work with good people, and it's not permanent. You can always, the Zoomers are so weak that a guy that just shows a little bit of initiative and is reliable and has a good work ethic, you will immediately rise to the top 10% among your peers. And there's such a need. You get in with a good company, they'll recognize that and they'll reward you. But don't worry about it too much. Just don't make girls your focus. That's the biggest advice I could give you. Get as many experiences as possible, and understand that if you're on a framing crew and it sucks, or you're running equipment, or you're doing something that you don't enjoy, don't worry about it. Just say, hey man, I'm going to do this for 6 months, 3 months, to get the experience, so I understand it, so I know what I don't like. But there's no shame in that, and just get out there and don't worry about it too much. When you're in your 30s and you are, if I were 18 knowing what I know right now, in 15 years I could accumulate enough wealth where I could be retired at about before 40, 30, maybe even early 30s. And I'll tell you, once you have a paid for house and you've got a couple $1 million in the bank, and you own everything, and you've got the confidence that comes from that, then you'll have your pick of any woman you want. The type of woman, the caliber of woman that you'll be able to acquire at that stage in your life is going to be 10x better than what you're going to get struggling at 18 on dating sites. There's no good that's going to come out of that. It's only going to set you back. It's going to waste your time. Don't make women your mission. You go make your fortune, make your wealth, and then women are to be an accessory to that, not the objective. That's the advice I would give you. Women are a big hindrance at that age. We have our brother Old Heart in the comments, calling on the Warband to pray collectively for the Sweet Loaf's health and quick recovery. I sure would appreciate that. Boy, she has been, that poor thing. There's nothing, I can tell you, there is nothing in the world that tears up your heart more than watching your little ones suffer, especially little kids. And Sweet Loaf, her suffering the last couple of days, I just held her and laid next to her and rubbed her legs and just, really tried to comfort her, but there's just nothing you could do. I would have taken it upon myself, if I could, to take that suffering away from her. But I think she's out of the woods. But boy, she was really sick. We all were. We have a super chat from Jamie, who asks, could you realistically start a successful small business with a small tractor and a dump trailer? You bet you could. You bet you could. Yeah. So I actually speaking of small businesses, there's so many opportunities right now, gentlemen. I got a phone call from Jack yesterday. My son Jack is 19. He's a freshman in college, and he worked on the summer as a wildland firefighter. Last year was his second season, made some money, but he found that he burnt through most of his money, and he's finding himself in need, in want, right? And so he keeps saying, oh, I need to get a job. I need to get a job. And I've always been entrepreneurial, and he's not been that way so much. So I gave him ideas, like, why don't you do this? Or you could do this, little small businesses, things that I used to do, where you could make $500 a day, easy. And, you never want to hear advice from your old man, especially when you're 18 or 19 or so. And he called me yesterday and was so excited, told me that he's starting a small pressure washing business. He got himself a good commercial Honda pressure washer, and he was going to go out and be pressure washing driveways, for cash. And he was sharing that with me. So there's opportunities like that. Dump trailers, small tractors, removing brush and such. Absolutely. And what I'd recommend is really present yourself well. Dress the part. Get a shirt. Get your company name on it. Tuck it in. Look professional. Comb your hair. Shave. Make sure your equipment is clean. Doesn't matter if it's new. You don't have McDonald's all over the place. Everything is. If your trailer's all rusty, go buy a couple cans of rattle cans. Clean it up. Make it look. Polish it up. Make it look good. Start advertising on Facebook Marketplace. Whatever you want to do. You're going to clean up brush, or you're going to bring your trailer, and you park it in their yard, and they can offload, take stuff to the dump, whatever. Go to the neighborhood with the nicest homes, and I'll tell you, guarantee you, once you get one job up there and you start working, people are going to come up and ask you, hey, can you come and do this for me? Can you do that? And be open to opportunities. You might find that you start doing small repairs, fixing doors or replacing broken windows and such. So be open to that. But a guy that can hustle, and you have a good reputation, word of mouth will carry you through. And I could take something like that. I could make $1,000 a day, $500 to $1,000 a day cash easily. So absolutely, it's just be persevere. And if people tell you no, don't let that be a deterrent to you. Just keep on going. But yeah, absolutely, dump trailer and a small tractor is a money printing machine right now. He says, are the Proho radio kits coming back? Well, I believe if you go over to Evan's site, Radio Made Easy, that those are now a regular stock item. They're always available. Now, we've done 2 runs of those with the special bag and such, but I do believe that those are available. So you can get the analog or the digital in the single or the 3 radio kit. So if one of the Warband members has a link to that or can verify that, maybe we can throw that in the chat here. And I do believe that those are available. We have a super chat from Robert John Thomas. Shout out to you. Thank you, Robert, who says, I wish I knew about environmental dental when I had my mercury amalgam fillings removed. Looking into doing long duty heavy. Yes. So what he's talking about, and I'm not the expert on this, but I have looked into this a little bit. The silver amalgam fillings that we were raised with, those of us, especially those of us that were Gen X, are high in mercury. Excuse me. Gross. And some people are of the belief that they are constantly leaching into your bloodstream. Now, whether or not that's true, I'm not sure, but a lot of people do believe it. And there's also some concern that even the removing of them, it might even be worse if it's not handled properly, meaning that when they get in there and drill them out, now that all of this material is being vaporized in the drilling process, and now you get a super dose of this. So I don't know about these things. I don't know how big of a threat it is. But there are some concerns with that. So they don't use them anymore. That's old fashioned. There's people, I was asking my dentist about that, and he said he regularly treats people that have had those things in their mouth for 30 years, even longer. So yeah, again, you'll do your own due diligence on that. I was always, I can tell you that even if there isn't anything to it, being aware of it and worrying about it and thinking about it affects you negatively. You always wonder. I always wonder when I would catch a cold or get sick, if it was a direct result of my immune system being so weakened by my body fighting against tooth problems or having infections in your teeth. And I think that that is a real big concern. It wasn't a big enough concern for me to overcome my fear. That's why I put up with it for 20 years. But in hindsight, I guess that's what I would say. Yeah, it could be. I kind of feel the same way, Robert. Thank you for that. We have a super chat from Reborn Drake 879. It says, hi, Cody. What advice would you have for young men starting in today's economy trying to obtain land and a home? The first thing, and it's just going to have to be done, is you're going to have to bring your expectations down a little bit, unless you are really making a lot of money. My granddad raised his family, as did many of the greatest generation, World War II vets, in small, modest homes. If you go into Portland, in the neighborhoods that were all built up in the 50s and the 60s, those homes that were 3-bedroom, usually 2 to 3 bedroom, were 400 to 800 square feet, single level, very simple, small kitchen, 1 bathroom, and they were modest homes. Now homes, we have the term, McMansion. There's all these expectations where everyone has to have their own bathroom, and you have to have this amazing gourmet Tuscan kitchen and this and that. And that's just no longer attainable. There was a very slight window in time where the boomers, because of the abundance of, just a particular time in history when everything just came into place where this was attainable. But that's not been the case throughout history. People have lived a lot more modestly. So if you grew up in that home, or you see your parents living in it, you can sometimes think if you do less than that, or have something smaller than what they have, that you somehow are not doing things right, or you're a failure. And that's not the case at all. It was very extraordinary circumstances that allowed them to have these places. So you're going to have to look at downsizing. And from someone who's lived in both and is currently in a big boomer McMansion that we are very excited to get out of, it's not the way. A smaller, compact living, a simpler life is the way to go. When it comes to land, I think what's going to be necessary is families working together to purchase land and splitting it off. That's really the way to go. You're gonna get in with. Be careful with partnerships. The only ship that won't sail is the partnership. And you gotta be careful entering into business deals with someone, especially long-term things like property. It can go bad, it can go sour. So make sure that everything, if you do enter into, what I'm talking about is families getting together, 2, 3, or 4, pooling their resources, buying a piece of land, splitting it off, and everyone gets their own cut. Let's say you buy 20 acres and you split it off and everyone gets 5. By doing this, now you can share resources. Now you have 4 people paying for the power to come in. Maybe you dig 1 well and you split it amongst the family, or 2 instead of 4. Lots of different things like that. But just when you go into that, it's got to be everything written out. Don't leave anything to chance. Draw up contracts, and this is what the rules are. This is what I will do. This is what you will do. And if you don't do it, for example, if you're the guy that's doing all the snow removal, and everyone else in the family is shirking their duties, it's going to build resentment, and you're going to start disliking, and that dislike will lead to hatred of people that are not pulling their weight. We have an abhorrence for justice when it comes to that. If just look what happens when you take a long movie line and someone wants to cut in, everyone hates that. No one likes that. And no one likes to be doing more work than their neighbor. So make sure it's all a contract and it's labeled. And so if you're the guy that's going to be plowing the snow and doing extra work, then you need to be compensated for that. And all that needs to be laid out. So with ChatGPT, the writing of contracts and things like that are all within your reach. You don't have to, a lot of those things that you had to hire an attorney for in the past, that's not the case anymore. So manage your expectations, downsize, go better quality, but smaller, fewer things, but better quality, and get together. Family members are the best, I think, if you can get your family to go in, if you have family land, to split it off and do it that way. But you're gonna have to get into groups of people and start sharing expenses. That's the way it's always been done, and that's the way it's going to need to be done in the future. There will be exceptions for high income earners, but that's not going to be the norm. We have a super chat from Alex Pedersen. Shout out to you. Alex says, fellow Ironheart enthusiast here, favorite cut of jeans besides the double knee? Any other Japanese denim you're into these days? As a matter of fact, so my favorite cut is the I haven't worn them all, so I don't know that I can speak to it. I do like the double fronts. I like the carpenter pants. I recently bought a 25-ounce pair of Samurai. They're the 25th anniversary, and it's the 25-ounce. It's the heaviest denim, about the heaviest denim you can get, and they're pretty extraordinary. I have to say that that's become my new my new favorite. I'm learning to talk with these teeth. My new favorite pair is from Samurai. It's a little bit different than Ironheart, and it's a little bit more slubby. But my goodness, the fit of those, and I don't know the model. If you go and search, this is the 25th anniversary of Samurai jeans. And they have a commemorative pair that are out. They've got the gold buttons on the front. And I don't know what cut that is, but it's a really nice cut. But I have also, I'd have to say that the best fitting jeans that I have that just fit like a glove, that feels so good and look good, are the Sugarcane 1947, the 501 from 1947. Now, Levi's has produced the 501 for a long time, and a lot of people think that it's always been the same. It is not. The Levi's 501 has changed the design drastically, radically, to keep up with the fashion trends of the times. But what's been considered to be the gold standard, the best of the best that they ever made, as far as fit and just a great shape, was the 1947 501. And Sugarcane, everyone that asks me, what's the first pair of Japanese denim that I should buy? What would be the first jeans that you would buy? I would buy the 14-ounce Sugarcane and the 1947. You can go look that up. They're going to be a little bit less than an Ironheart, maybe by $100 or so. I think you can get them for around $250, $275, and the fit is really, really good. It's a lightweight, more of a lightweight denim. Your heavy Ironhearts are going to be 21 ounce, and those are pretty burly. And the 14 ounce is cool, it's comfortable, and it's a wonderful fit. So I like the Samurais, love the Samurais, I love the Ironhearts, and I love the Sugarcanes. Those are the three that I have. Outside of that, I don't own any other ones. But good question. Steven Spry, we have a super chat. Oh, I lost him. Let me back up here. Who says, welcome home. Well, thank you. It's so nice to be home. It was a very tiring trip physically. You know, there's a lot of trauma to have major dental work, and the stress of traveling and going to a foreign land and not knowing and worrying. It just took a toll on me. I've just been sleeping the sleep of the dead, but it's very nice to be home. Very nice to be home. Thank you for that. We have a super chat from David Stig Hansen. I don't know what he said, but shout out to you. Thank you for that. Back Creek, I've got a welcome home. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's very nice to be home. Josephus is asking me, do I still have Bear's chainsaw? No, I did not take Bear's chainsaw. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, when we went to Tennessee to help with Hurricane Helene, I worked on a saw crew, and Bear from Refuge Medical, you know, they run a relief effort down there. And he loaned me, because I traveled on the airplane, Mr. Brian and we couldn't take our chainsaws, and he loaned me his chainsaw, his new 500i, and I really fell in love with it. And I liked it. He had his name written on the back, and I crossed out his name for fun and wrote my name on it, and did a little video on that. I didn't keep his saw. I just I returned it back better, or as good as I found it, cleaned it all up, and it was just a bit of a joke. But no, I didn't take his saw. Actually, when I got home, he didn't have it quite set up in a way that was West Coast man approved i.e. meaning he didn't have a full wrap on it. He had a filthy East Coast handle style on it. So I sourced a full wrap handle and a Spencer Loggers tape, and I had it shipped down to him so he could come correct and get his saw and really skook him. So we had a little fun with that. But no, I didn't take his saw, but I would have liked to have. If he would have offered it, I would have taken it. But thank you for that. We have a super chat from Cassie and a member. Good to see you here, Cassie. Cassie says, I live in KN. Man, what is KN? I don't know why I don't know that. It's probably obvious right in front of me. It's a communist state, and I can't own regular rifles. So should I just get a 22 and use that, or should I build out a regular AR rifle that's compliant? Well, you know, I believe that a man has a God-given right to defend him and his family with whatever means is necessary, and whatever he can achieve, whatever he needs to do. There are some laws that are just and some that are unjust, and I would, if I were in that situation, I would do whatever I seemed right in my own eyes, and take the very precautions to. Of course, I would never advise you to break any laws or anything like that, but you know, some rules are meant to be broken, and when government regulations and laws come in conflict with your God-given right to look after yourself and to protect yourself, well, decisions need to be made, and I would act accordingly when it comes to that. As far as building a compliant AR, if you can do that, and you may be limited to some weird stock or some ridiculous regulation or magazine restrictions, of course, go ahead. A 22 is a great complement to an AR. If I was, you know, to be honest, if I was going to have two, you know, it's interesting. I was in the house. This was about this was Christmas, right before Christmas. I was in the house, and we've been having some coyote problems. They've been in our field. They've been getting into chicken coops, eating and killing livestock in the area. They've gotten very bold and kind of getting out of control. I was in the house, and Mrs. W hollered at me. The coyote's in the yard, like right about 100 yards, moving across the field. And I had only just a few seconds to make a decision on how to deal with this. And I ran into the gun safe that I keep in the bedroom, and I opened it up, and I had my choice of anything I wanted. I could have grabbed a shotgun. I could have grabbed a 22. I could have grabbed an AR, 300 Win Mag, 6.5, whatever. I had all the stuff at my disposal. What I grabbed was my Mark 18. And why did I grab the Mark 18? Because it had a 4X ACOG on it. And I'll tell you that growing up hunting, my grandfather was the finest marksman I'd have ever known, and we hunted Eastern Oregon. So primarily for mule deer and elk. And shots were long in Eastern Oregon. You have a lot of open terrain. Shots are very common, 400 plus. 400 to 800 yards is a pretty common shot back then. And that doesn't sound like a lot now, but back in the day before all of the precision shooting that we have today, that was pretty extraordinary, especially an animal on the move. And my granddad hunted with a 4X scope, and that's what I hunted with for years and years. And I saw him kill animals at great distances with the 4X. And he was always of the opinion that the 4X was the best all around for hunting. And I would tend to agree. And I'll tell you, when I needed to make it happen and to deal with that coyote problem, I grabbed that Mark 18, which is 5.56, an AR platform, with that 4X ACOG on it, and I smoked it on the move at 100 yards. And I have to say, if I could only have one, one rifle to do everything, home defense, hunting, it would be a 5.56 and the AR-15 platform. And if I could have two, it'd be a 22. If I could have three, it would be a shotgun. you know, and if it could be 4, then it'd be a centerfire hunting rifle. But I would, that's my advice I would give you. My brother in Christ, Mr. Ben LePage, good to see you here. Ben LePage, shout out to you, is last month, was our I'm #1 subscriber, most active on across the channel as anyone. We'll see if you still see if next month if you still hold that title. But good to see you here, Ben. Ben says, hope you're well. How are the trees you planted doing? They're good so far. It's hard to say, you know, they're dormant right now. We planted 250 trees. I'm reforesting a portion of my land with native trees that pretty much went extinct through logging practices. A lot of the logging companies now plant what they call monocrops, which is the same species, millions of acres of the same species. And they're having problems with bug and infestations and the bark beetles and such. And what we're starting to realize is that a healthy forest is a diverse forest with a good mix of species, some deciduous, broadleaf, and it tends to, there may be a bug that will come in and attack the ponderosa, for example, but the white fir or the silver or the grand fir may repel that bug. And so they help one another out. And that's where healthy forests come from. So we're in the process on a very small scale of reforesting. We started with 250 trees last year, and Lord willing, we'll do the same this year. But it's hard to say, Ben. They're you know, they're dormant right now. We still have a foot of snow on the ground, and come spring we'll tell. But I would say that we had probably a 80 to 90% success rate, what I saw, and it was primarily because I got a lot of water on them. It's hard to get a foothold in a dry field with those little ones, especially when it gets hot. And when I redirected the water and I started flood irrigating them, they really took off. So we'll see. We'll see come spring. And there also, you lose some from animals. You know, animals will come and eat the shoots and such. So we will see. We'll see. I'll let you know. We have a super chat from Hardee's that says you should go to Kojima, Jean Street in Japan, a whole small town dedicated to Japanese jean and denim. I would love to go to Japan. We've talked about that I am very much a fan of their culture, and all my clothing that I wear is all Japanese. Everything. I'm wearing Filson double tin pants. That's kind of an exception, but is all most of my stuff is all Ironheart. I would love to go and see that. We actually talked with Jack maybe next year of going there for a couple weeks, maybe over the summer when he's out on college for a break and doing a family trip. But I'll keep that in mind. I wasn't aware of that, but that's something I would be very interested in. We have a super chat from Mr. Matt White. Matt writes, I can't warm up to AR-15s. What would you recommend as a substitute? I have a .308 Scout rifle, a Remington 870 Winchester, 44 mag, 30-30 Ruger, and 357 9mm. Yeah, that's fine. There's no one saying you need to do that. I guess if you wanted a small caliber, I don't know. I can't relate to not warming up to the platform because it's so it's just so an amazing invention and so versatile. You can take it whatever you want where to go with it. You can go, if you want to do a 6-inch barrel and a 300 blackout, you can do that. If you want to go a 20-inch barrel and something that's more precision rifle with, you know, optics magnification, you know, something up to 500-600 meter gun, you can do that. The aftermarket opportunities are incredible. They're something you can build yourself. It's really nice, enjoyable. I understand where you're coming from. There's just the gun tubers on YouTube have almost ruined it for a lot of people, and that's probably where you're coming from. But don't pay any attention to them. It's an incredible, wonderfully versatile and fun platform to build on. I guess what would come to mind, I've never owned one, maybe a Mini 14, but Mini 14s are not accurate. They're cool. But if you're talking about personal defense and something that has combat accuracy, they would fall within those parameters. Unless you really want to nerd out and you want to shoot, sub MOA stuff, then a mini's not for you. But I think the mini is cool because you can get them in stainless and they've got that. They're just cool. Hard to mount traditional optics and things on them. They're a little non-conventional, but again, I don't know. I don't know small caliber what you would use outside of that. I guess probably the advice I would give you, just stick with a battle rifle. Just go with that 308 and get you something, maybe an AR-10. But that puts you in the same problem. But I don't know. I'm not I'm not the guy. That question could better be answered by guys like my friend Overton Windex. He might be able to help you out with that. But sounds like you know what you're doing. I don't know that I can add much to the conversation. But thank you for that super chat. And that's a nice collection you have there as well. Oh, Mr. Barr is in the house. Ridge Runner Blades. Did you take your dear little Mexican Norwegian? I did not. But I have verified he would have thrived there for sure. I did not, but I will give him your love. But thank you for that. I will give him your love when I see him. A little bit of an inside joke there. We have a super chat from Mr. Clark. Clark S writes, had any time on the snow bike this winter. It was great that you got to spend time with Jack the last couple of years. Still enjoy the live content. No, I haven't. I need to get back on that horse. After I had such a bad motorcycle accident on my dirt bike towards the end of the summer, that, to be honest with you, I have not felt I have not felt physically able to do it. First up, my hand, it was so messed up that I'm just now getting the flexibility and enough where I feel like I could confidently even ride a motorcycle and have the strength and the dexterity that I need with that. I got beat up. I got really torn up from that crash. Oh, give me a strength. My soul just left me. You ever had your shop air compressor turn on when you're by yourself? Hold on. That just took 10 years off my life. So I have not. I have not. And I just haven't been up to it physically. It's not something I take lightly. It's so physically demanding, and you need to have your strength. And if you ever got yourself in a bad situation, you can die up there so quickly. And I just haven't. And I haven't. I feel like I could. I wouldn't be opposed to getting back up on there, but it hasn't snowed for a couple weeks, and the whole mountain's all beat up, and it's no fun. I only ride when the conditions are good. So I would the next snowfall that we have, I'll likely go out for the first time this year, but I have not been on it. Let's see. Yacht Dat has got a question on Cal Fire. I'm very curious on what's your opinion of Cal Fire. I have never worked on a California wildland fire, but I heard the stories. Cal Fire, from how I understand it, dances to its own drum. They've got their own program. They're such a big organization that they operate independent of a lot of the crews. And what I have heard, but my son Jack was down, I think it was 2 years ago, down there, and not working directly for them, but they were in the vicinity. and he did not have a favorable opinion. Couple different things. One was a lot of kind of silly regulations. For example, putting excess burdens upon firefighters with excessive safety equipment, which, in my opinion, gets to the point where you try to keep a guy so safe that you end up making him less safe because now he's overheating. He's got to overcome the additional burden of burdensome equipment, et cetera, et cetera. So there is that. And then there's just the general negative attitude of elitism and gatekeeping, which I don't really care for as well. You think of guys going to come down there from Oregon, Washington, Idaho to help out, that they would accept them with open arms. And what I hear, and again, this is just secondhand knowledge, is that a lot of egos and oh, we do things down here, we do things better, and well, apparently not. See, the big problem down there is there's a lot of misinformation, and here's what I think is the case. A lot of talk about the reservoirs being empty, a lot of, and that of course plays into it as well, especially on the structure side. But to be honest, water is something that we don't really depend on too much as wildland firefighting. We're usually in remote areas. We don't have access to a lot of water, especially initial attacks when you're first on scene. So a lot of the techniques and tactics that we've developed have been figuring out how to put fires out without this water. Now, if we're talking about aerial resources, it's a whole different thing. But a good portion of what the guys do is they're able to, and have for a long time, prevented wildland fires through a series of fire line and fire breaks, digging down to mineral soil and tactics, and using fire to burn out areas ahead of time, to remove fuel and such. So we know how to fight fire without water. Now, if we're talking about the structure guys, like what was so prominent in the news with the hydrants going dry, those guys, that's what they do. The structure guys and the wildland guys are completely different. Structure guys protect homes in urban environments. They depend upon hydrants, water systems. Wildland guys are fighting in the remote area. Now, sometimes we interface and work together, especially when homes are in the urban interface. But really, the problem down there is, in addition to the water, but the big one is no preventative measures. Back 40, 50 years ago, it was common in California to build what they call fire breaks, meaning they would preemptively go out, crews, whoever, I don't know who was in charge of it, it was the Forest Service or private timber companies, would go out and cut logging roads and keep them clear, and brush mitigation and prescribe burns. There's effort. You put effort and money into it, so you remove the fuel before it becomes overgrown and a big problem. What you have is incompetent governments that quit doing that. They quit making that a priority and refunneled money that in the past would have went to fire mitigation into social programs. And it's just poor leadership. And those chickens are coming home to roost. This is something that's been talked about for a long, long time. The third element of that is you have an aging power infrastructure. You have these massive transition lines that they're coming. We feed up here. Our hydroelectric dams feed tremendous amounts of power down to California, and these massive feeding lines go down all the way down into Los Angeles and San Diego and NoCal. And they haven't kept up on those lines. And those the brackets and the mechanism for holding everything up is aged, and they haven't innovated, and they're not keeping them up, and their power lines fall down. If you look and see, the number one cause of fires in California is from the power company. And you know what their fix is now? Rather than going in and redirecting some money and bringing this stuff up and making sure that when the wind blows, the high tension power lines don't fall on the ground and start brush fires. Instead of doing that, the fix is now, well, we'll just shut the power off every time it gets windy. So then the people struggle. So there's a lot of problems down there right now. And I'm glad to see President Trump, boots on the ground down there trying to address some of these things and bringing it to the people's attention. Because the problem you have is the Democratic leadership. I mean, I'm not going to name calling is not going to be very helpful, but let's call it what it is. It's just a lack of priorities and not putting the people's money where it needs to be put in infrastructure and in preventative measures. It's not rocket science. There's always been fires in California, and they've never been this devastating. This is just complete mismanagement, in my opinion, and inept leadership. But thank you, Let's, for that. Good question. We have a super chat from Floyd. It says, thoughts on anti-nationalism, opting out of having a family due to the fallness and suffering of this life. Believe in God and Jesus Christ, but still. Yeah, I understand that. But that's the trick of the devil, is to take away your hope. And, I guess his way I look at it is that having someone that had children older, when I was older, didn't have my first, until I was in my mid 30s or so. So I've lived a pretty full life without kids, and I've lived a life with them. And the truest happiness and joy that you can experience on this flat earth is through your children and watching their successes. Nothing compares to that. And to let fear or doom and gloom or propaganda steal that from you, that opportunity of having your own children and experiencing that, enjoying that, is a terrible waste. A terrible waste. Don't buy into your fears. Don't subscribe to those. It is a trick from the adversary. The way I look at it is if you call yourself a man of faith and you're going to follow God, and your God, whoever you serve, is so small that he can't provide for you and honor the promises that he's made to look after you and to know what you have need of before you ask, then you might as well just throw in the sponge and forget it. Because if a God's not able to look after you and provide for your needs, and I'm not saying your wants, but your needs and what the needs of your children, then what good is he at all? So you have to understand that there has been a very powerful propaganda campaign that has been very effective, especially towards women, pushing off having children, pushing off having families, telling them that they should go and enjoy a career. Oh, you can always do things later, but there is no later. Geriatric pregnancy starts at 32. And these women believe that they can have healthy, happy babies in their 40s and 50s. And that's just not the case. There's a short window on these things. So don't subscribe to that. Don't buy into that. Have children. Have as many as you can. It is the greatest thing that you can experience on this earth. And just do it. You'll figure it out. It's amazing what you can do what you can accomplish when you have to. And to sit around and think, well, I'm not going to do this because I'm worried about the future. People have had kids all through eternity. And there's a lot of people that have lived in much more difficult times than this. And they weren't afraid to have kids. So don't let the devil steal that joy from you. Don't let the adversary win, and have children. We have a super chat from Duster16 who writes, are you going to be the surprise VIP guest to Overton Windex get together in September? I don't know. He talked about, I haven't got the details on this. He talked about getting together and doing a moto ride. He could probably get a better VIP than me, but I would love to be there. So, once I get to, I don't remember if he told me, I forgot, but I don't remember the details exactly, but I expect to hear from him. And if he's putting that together, then I'll make every effort to come out there for that, for sure. Goodness, we have a super chat from our friend Mr. Barr, Ridge Runner Blades, the official knife armorer of the channel. He says, so you have started something with the people wanting the glow in the dark bead lanyard on their landslide foxfire. Well, it is the thing. This is my personal EDC carry right here. I gave this is the Foxfire, the Primitive Woodsman Foxfire. This is my carry. I think this is my favorite EDC carry I've ever had, but it's got a glow in the dark bead on it that I just adore. I need to get one of those beads I gave the landslide edition Foxfire you sent me. I gave that to Mr. Brian, And I don't believe he had a bead on his, but yes, it is very good, especially at night when your pants are on the ground and you can see it glowing. I do like it. He says, I now have them on the shop for anyone who wants them. I also have a fantastic box of goodies to send your way this week. Yes. I'm so sorry, Jason. I know I've got to do some videos. We got some merch. We got some new pencils and different things the guys to put together, and I just haven't got to it. Send me the send me the knife that you set the pictures of, and I will do an unboxing, and we'll get all caught up on this, and just mention anything you want to mention or any details like the bead. Please give that to me, text it to me, or put it drop a note, and I'll get all that sorted out. But as soon as you get that box to me, I'll get a quick turnaround for you, and we'll do that fun unboxing. I'm excited to see what's coming. But thank you for that, Jason. How spiritual sciences, how can you contact me by email? You can email me Cody@Wranglerstar.com, and I'll probably get that. We have a super chat from Overton Sponsor who writes, fellow God, get married young and have many children, raise them to love God. Been watching your content off and on for a while. Really love your channel. I appreciate that. And I would agree. 100%. Yeah, it would be, yeah, I know, it's not in the cards for everyone. I understand that, but I'll tell you, gentlemen, a lot of people that are sad and old who don't have children, it was by a personal choice. I'm not talking about those who can't have children, and even those who can't, that's no excuse. Because you can go through the adoption process. You can go through the foster care process. There are many of us sitting here today that have went through that. And so, of course, you want to have your own children with your own seed. I understand that. But if that's not in the cards for you, then there are other options. And to say otherwise, or to make excuses, is not true. It comes down to priorities. What's your priority? When people say, well, I can't afford it. I can't afford to raise up kids in this environment. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It's just a matter, you're not going to be driving brand new cars every 3 years. You're not going to be living in a 6,000 square foot house. You're not going to be going to Munich or to Switzerland for vacations. It's going to be a different life. We have families that are 5th generation dairy farmers in the valley here. They have huge families on single modest incomes, and they get it done. And they are some of the healthiest, most amazing people in the whole world, and they have very, very little. So there isn't any reason. All of it's just excuses. It's all excuses. If you want it bad enough, God will open a door and make it possible for you. But I couldn't agree more. Have as many kids as you can. But thank you, Overton, for that. We have a super chat from James Beckerlager. Writes, as a liberal, what would you consider owning a firearm? Can we be done with all the labeling? I'm so tired of it. It is a propaganda tool of the adversary to separate us. And now, it's just not helpful, and it's just not accurate. You can't categorize people into two camps. There are so many. We are so complex, and we have so many different perspectives. And here's the truth of the matter: is that I don't care if you are leftist, liberal, or what you have. You could come here. We could go together and do things, go on a ride or something, and we would have more in common than we wouldn't. I think we'd be able to see each other's perspective and probably meet in the middle. So I'm not going to there is no different firearm for a liberal over a conservative. It doesn't make any difference. The only thing that may come into play is that most people that are on the left don't have as much experience, or maybe are entering into this for the very first time. So I guess the advice that I would give you is to start small, get some training, start with the 22. And once you become confident, you can move up, but don't go buy some giant hand cannon. There's something that's going to get you off on the wrong foot and give you a bad experience. Firearms are tools. They're neither good nor bad. They're just are tools, just like a drill or a sledgehammer is. And you need to learn how to use them. So I don't really understand that question. We have a super chat from Little Klondike Outdoors. Thank you. No comment. Thank you, Hunter. I got new teeth. I'm so happy. So happy to be able to smile. Ooh, just wonderful. And to eat. Teeth and toupees. Yeah, there you have the Dr. Preppers in the house. Thank you. Yep. Well, maybe I should book that long trip to Turkey, get those hair plugs put in so I can finally ditch the toupee. You know, those maintaining those Polynesian versions with that strict diet of organic coconut oil is putting me in the poorhouse. So maybe something I could shed. But my vanity won't let me go bald, so it is what it is. Yeah, it is nice to be able to smile again. I'm having to learn how to do it. I keep catching. I haven't been out really much, but I keep catching myself. If Mrs. W says something funny or the Sweet Loaf does something that brings joy to me, I catch myself covering, wanting to go into a smile. That's my natural expression, to express myself that way. But then the habit of not being able to do that, where you stop. And now I'm learning that I don't have to do that anymore, that I can act naturally and normally. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to get that back. Isaac's asking about the cabin. How's the cabin doing? The cabin's doing wonderful. I have not been over there for 3 weeks. Mr. Peter, my friend and fellow Warband member, he's occupying over there and looking after it for us. And it's very nice to have him on site. I told Mr. Peter, he said, how much do you want for to rent it? And I said, I don't want to rent it. I don't want to rent it because I want to have it available for friends and family when they come over. And so what I told Mr. Peter is, I said, I'm just happy to have you on the property, just another man here looking out for Mrs. W and my family when I'm away. As a public person with a higher profile than most, you do always worry. You have to deal with crazy and weird people, and I don't like to leave the house and my family be here without me here looking after them. So having Mr. Peter here and keeping an eye on the cabin, I feel very happy about that. So our deal with him is he can stay there as long as he wants to and use it like his own. We only ask that if we have family that comes in, we'll give him, as much notice as possible to vacate, in those times until they leave. Okay, Dr. Prepper. So that's a good question. That's on my list to do tomorrow. I've got my cat skid steer is throwing a low pressure engine oil pressure code on the computer. I do not believe it has low oil pressure. I'm convinced that it's the sensor. But how can you know for sure? It's very disconcerting to have that alarm on. So I shut it down immediately. So Lord willing, tomorrow on my list to do is to bring that over here to the shop and to tear into it and see if I can get to the bottom of it, find out what's going on. So that's actually was going to be today's video. I was going to do it today, but I decided to, I'm just not feeling up to it. I'm really tired and I still feel pretty beat up. So I'm going to take a couple more days off from the live stream and not do too much. But tomorrow, my plan is to bring it into the shop and we'll tear into it. And I'll do video on that. That's going to be tomorrow's content. But good to see you here, Dr. Prepper. We have a super chat from Tango165 and member who says, I just wanted to say thank you for all that you do the years of videoing and the knowledge you share with us. It's a blessing to be with you and your family. And I appreciate that. It's been a great blessing to have people support us and to be able to do this. It's been the best job I've ever had. And I feel very fortunate to be able to do it still. But thank you, Tango. Matt White, also one of our newer members. Matt says, how happy are you with your Tep for Armory 13 knife? Oh, it's very happy. It is it's my favorite knife that I own. It is. It's he goes on to say, what steel is it? Considering getting one replacing my cold steel SR key, I carry it in my FUPA. Yeah, as do I. I like to carry it on my belt. It is awesome. It's a big knife, but it carries well. But it's a little bit much. It's not. It's a blade for blade for killing. It's not a blade for general EDC. And as much as I wanted it to be, it just didn't work out. I finally had to. I'll still wear it, just for fun because I think it's cool. But it's a defensive blade. It's something that would be well suited in like a FUPA, like you say, or it's very special. That particular knife speaks to me, and there's just something special about it in a way that no knife ever has. And I'm not saying that that's going to be your experience. That's just been my experience. When I first saw it, I was in North or South Carolina. Was when Jason showed it to me. I asked him to. I was looking for I wanted something to put on a plate carrier. I wanted a defensive blade, a fixed blade, and he gave me two options. And I remember the first time I saw it, I thought how it was unusual. It had an Arabic feel to me, and I didn't like it. And I think what I did is I trusted, told Jason, I said, you send me the one that you like the best, I think is what it was. I don't remember all the details. I could have it wrong. And he ended up sending it to me. And then after a while, I started to understand, and I realized why he chose the knife that he did. And it's very special. It's I don't know what to say. It just speaks to me. I like it, but again, it's not ideal for EDC, so that's why you don't see me carrying it all the time. But I would say, I don't know how you're going to get your hands on one. I've been to Ridge Runner Blades. Ridge Runner Blades is where Jason's knife shop. They've not been in stock, so I've never seen one for sale. So I don't know if they're available now. They're all handmade, so they're very precious. But I would encourage you to get one if you have the means. It's very cool. But yes, I love that knife. It's my most favorite. We have our brother in Christ and double alternator member, my 212-52152, who says, thank you for doing the stream. I'm glad to see you vertical. Do you have any advice for heating a 3,000 square foot off-grid house? It's not built yet. 3,000 feet. Well, I have very limited experience with I was just having this conversation this morning. Our furnace, we have a 5.5 ton water furnace because we have geothermal in our big house, and it's a big commercial monstrosity, and it has not been working very well. It is not keeping the house warm. It's fine until we get down in the teens, and so the house has been quite cold. We wake up in the morning and it's 61, 62, and everything's on high. It's just not producing enough heat. It's gotten to the point this all winter long that we've had to have a fire in the fireplace running almost all the time when it gets cold. And Mrs. W's got some space heaters, and so we finally found a service guy that understood this particular. It's a little bit unusual, this particular furnace, and we've been working on it for months. Today, we figured out what was wrong with it, and it's a compressor, so it's only putting out about what a 2-ton unit would put out. in a huge house, and we need all of that. So fortunately, we were on the last year of a 5-year warranty. We're going to have to pay for the labor, which is going to be $3,800, but all the parts are covered under the warranty. And we found out just today, that it's the compressor. It's not working properly. So it's, I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's not your problem. So we have that. So if I were to do it again, I would take a look at the mini splits. We've had limited use of ours. It's been running since the end of summer in the cabin. But man, it's a nice little unit, and you can install them yourself. They're very affordable. What I would have is my primary source would be a wood stove. I would get something nice, like if it was my primary heating unit, I'd buy something nice like a hearthstone, soapstone wood stove. Make that your primary. Cut your own firewood if you can. And then I would have my backup would be a mini splitter too, according to the zones and how your house is built and such. So apart from that, I don't know. I was just having this conversation with my HVAC guys today, and they were really good. And they were of the opinion that it depends on the climate. It depends on how well the house is insulated, all those things. But just hard to beat just a regular traditional forced air furnace. Especially if you can get natural gas, that's a good way to go. They're very efficient, they're affordable, they're easy to work on, and you don't have to overcomplicate things. But that's all I can tell you. That's my experience. It's hard for me to say. But insulate your house. Put money in insulation. Insulate it the best you can. If you can do 2x6 walls, if you can do stagger stud. And really look at put your money in windows. It's hard to put the money in quality windows. That's one thing that Mrs. W and I have always demanded, is to buy the best windows you can afford with the best, highest R value. That's something that's hard to change out. And if you skimp on the windows, and skimp on the insulation, then you're going to be working a lot harder the rest of your life. Higher heat bills, more firewood. If you can put that money up front and insulate that house well, good windows, then it's going to pay dividends down the road. That's the best advice. I think that's more important than the furnace choice, to be honest. Thank you for that, though. We have a super chat from G-Ski. G-Ski writes, I turned 50 last month. Shout out to you. I'm in the similar age bracket there. My mother died November, never married. I'm sick of American culture and I want to leave more than ever. I'm worried my money won't last in a former communist country. Your thoughts? No, I understand it. I do understand it. It is enticing. I follow a lot of different YouTubers and TikTokers that have had the same experience as you, that are fed up with the cost of living, and it's terrible. It's terrible. We are among the least free people in the world, to be honest with you. I know we like to say I'm a freedom and all that, but that's not the case. You can either listen to the propaganda, or you can trust your lying eyes, right? And then I watch people that are moving to Southeast Asia, South America, different places, and they're very verbal and very vocal about showing how cheap it is and how much you can get. I follow people that even live in rural Japan. There's countries like in Italy and Greece that are practically giving homes away because these towns are dying. But the downside of that you hear, so when people first move, they're very excited and they're showing how their money goes so far. But what happens, what I see from so many of them, whether it be Russia or South America or Southeast Asia, is they really get lonely and they really start to desire being around their own people, of their own culture, and how difficult and sad it is to be in a spot where you are not from there. And no matter what you do, it's just not the same. It's not the same as being in the area you grew up. So you got to really take a hard look at your disposition and your personality, and how would you handle that mentally, and would you be okay with that? Would you be okay in a place where no one speaks English? So It's hard to say. You really got to get boots on the ground. Do your research, go learn from what other people are doing, kind of pick the culture that you like, and go down there for 6 months and try it out, and go down there when it's the worst environment, when it's the hottest, so you can see, can you deal with it? But I understand that. When you're at 50, when that age, it's very different than when you're 18, because the decision you make, you're going to have over like that just doesn't appeal to me like it did. So just be honest with your abilities and what you're willing to give up before you make that decision. I understand it. Oh, I understand it. But thank you for that super chat. Chronic and Ironic in the house. Good to see you here. Made it to Thailand, deployed. Has been good so far, just playing tic-tac-toe with the Chinese. I'm very glad to hear you. I hadn't heard from Chronic. Chronic is in the Navy. He is a part of our members' morning Bible streams, and he was deployed a couple months ago. And I hadn't heard hide nor hair of him. And this is the first time I've caught him in the chat. So I'm very happy to hear from you, and that you're doing okay. And then be careful out there. I'll tell you, the Warband has been praying for you on the daily. You've always been in our morning prayers, and you will continue to be so until you're home. And I'm out of coffee. So just to drop that little reminder. Be safe. You will be in our prayers, and we're proud of you. We're proud of you. Oh, I'm glad to hear from Chronic and Ironic. Let me back up here. We have a super chat from our brother Chris Irish, who writes, your vulnerability is appreciated. Thank you. Yeah, it's not fun to talk about. Like it's not an easy thing to do the video I did today about my going down to the dentist. I could have kept that under wraps, but I guess when you it's kind of like when you become aware of the good news, when you become aware of that what God has done for us through our Savior, through His Son Jesus Christ, and you start to become aware of that. The automatic thing that comes out in you is that I have found something that's precious, that's saved my life, that's changed me in so many ways that you have to share it. You feel that you would be doing a disservice to your friends and to humanity if you didn't share it. Unfortunately, new converts to anything share too much before they have the knowledge and wisdom, and it does more damage than it does good. But I guess I feel the same way with this. If I find something that's helpful to me, that benefits me, and to be able to, I know that there are people that are having the same experience, that are having the same struggles as I have, and if I find something, do something that benefits me, that makes me happier, or a greater quality of life, or helps me to overcome vice or difficulties or the struggles that the adversary puts upon us, then I feel obligated to do that. And there's no shame in it. I used to think that I had to be a tough guy for way too long, and so many opportunities were lost, and friendships, and I just, maybe it's age and wisdom, but I don't care what people think about me too much anymore, really, at all, to be honest with you. I wear the things I want to wear and do the things I want to do, and I've lost a lot of acquaintances, family, and friends because of that, but so be it. So be it. I would rather have less but better quality. And what I found through COVID, and COVID was a big one for me. I saw people showed their true colors, and I really, losing my father through that, and showed me that I'm not immortal. People are not immortal, that there's only so much time that we have on this life, and to waste it with posturing or insecurities, it's just fruitless. Be who you're going to be. Surround yourself with people who care about you and who are genuine, and shed all of the rest. Shed all, even if they're family. It's just not worth it. So I appreciate that. Thank you. We have a super chat, another super chat from our friend Mr. Barr, who writes, I have a wait list for the Model 13. There are not many being made. I do have other blades that will fit the bill, but just email me from the website and we can chat. Can get you on the wait list or give you some other options. Yeah, so I don't have my TEP for 13 here in front of me. I have it in my dresser drawer. It's one of the 3 knives. The 4 knives that I keep, all my knives are all in junk bins or boxes somewhere, but the ones that I keep in my daily rotation are my my TEP 413, my Foxfire, my 940 Osborne, and my Microtech. Those are the knives that I really I like and that I rotate in and are part of my daily EDC. But there you have it. If you want a TEP for 13, go get on the waiting list. You can go to Ridge Runner Blades. Mr. Barr, you can see right there. He will take care of you, and we support them 100%. We're going to be doing actually an unboxing. We have a new blade coming, and I trust Mr. Barr. He's never steered me wrong, and he always sends the cool stuff. He gets it, so I don't have to overthink it. I just tell him, you just send me what I need, and that's how I found these nice knives. I mean, this here knocked the 940 out of the. I no longer carry the 940. I will carry it if I don't have a belt, wearing something that doesn't have a belt. But this is my EDC right here. The fixed blade is the way, and that horizontal carry is real good. Goodness, we have $100 super chat from our brother, Mr. Overton Windex. Good to see you here. I did hear that there was a date for the moto ride. I know this was brought up some time back. Yeah, give me the details on that, and I will put that on my calendar and make every effort to be there. I really look forward to that. But thank you for your generosity. Heads up, you're busy the last weekend of September. Battle Chemist affords you the option of coming willingly, but I'm told he's willing and capable of kidnapping. Okay, I got it. I'm gonna take a photo of this. I'll screen shoot it. Yeah, I got the date, and I will put that on the calendar and tie in with Mrs. W. But without checking the calendar, I don't know for sure. But September, I will plan on being there, 100%. Yep. And I hope it's a motor ride. I'll load up my truck and head out. Absolutely. Thank you, Overton, for that. Thank you for your generosity. And I'll tell you, you were right. Overton sent me a really nice thermal monocular, and he told me that of all the the night vision and all the cool gadgets and stuff that we all like to have, that this one he finds to be the most useful, and I would agree 100%. That's the one. I've got the night vision, I've got all that stuff, but that's the one that is within reach on the nightstand that I use a couple times a week. Usually looking for Toothless, my cat, who doesn't like to come in at night, and I never know where she's at. I take that thermal out there, and she can't hide from that. I find her and go and grab her. But I sure do appreciate that, Luke. I really do. We have a super chat, $100 super chat. Good grief, from Juice Carry. Shout out to you. Thank you. Unbelievably generous. I really do appreciate that. Juice writes, I don't normally do super chats because of time zones. I was wondering if YouTube is a good way to document parts of my life for my sake. I want to be able to look back, watch and listen to people of the past. Will YouTube be around at 30 or 40 years of time? Man, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I would say that that probably will be, or some variation of it. And I think that it would be a very good idea. But also make sure you just have a backup. What I do is I shoot a ton of video. Sometimes, most of it's all in 4K, sometimes 8K. That's a lot of files, right? I can't keep all that stuff. I'm not going to have servers and terabytes of hard drive space. So what I do is I take all the content that I shoot. If you're documenting your life or kind of doing a life story that you want to have for your family or for the future, just get yourself a good hard drive, a portable hard drive. And when you're done making your videos, upload them to YouTube, upload them to TikTok, whatever you like, and then just drag it over and just keep a record, just to keep a hard copy of those. And just when that hard drive fills up, to get yourself another one and just look at that as like having a picture album. But I would say yes. I'm counting on it. I do have all my stuff backed up, but I'm counting on it. So I think so. I think so. But it's hard to say. The world technology is changing so quickly. It's hard to say what's going to be around. It's hard to say what's going to be around in 5 years. We just had AI turned on its head just in the last 48 hours. And just an astonishing bit of technology from open source AI now from China that is rivaling the best that ChatGPT has. And who knows what the repercussions of that's going to be. But I think it's here to stay. But thank you. Thank you for your generosity, Juice. I really do appreciate that. We have a super chat from our brother Hunter Sampson, triple Loctite member. Shout out to you. And my 212521252. Thanks for good info. I think I got the last of the number 3 knife. Oh, you have one. Oh, congratulations. We are those, of course, are all handmade. I have been to a lot of bigger knife manufacturers product, and it's fine. But I'll tell you, the 2 that I would like to see, if I make my way or when I find myself back in North Carolina, if Mr. Barr could facilitate, I would love to see the Tepfer Armory and to go see how that knife is made and to meet the knife maker, as well as Primitive Woodsman. Those are 2 that I'd like to see. And I had the opportunity when I was there, and there was too much going on. But I would make time for that next time I go back. But that's true. They truly are special. North Carolina, man, makes a fine knife. North Carolina is, as you know, an official West Coast state. We have a super chat from Tyler Candy, who writes, "How can I learn God's purpose for my life? I've worked hard in my corporate job and got yearly promotions, but I still feel unfulfilled. I know God wants me to make a move. I just don't know where to start." Man, I understand that. The good book says it's hard for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. And it's not the money that's the problem. It's just that the security that comes from it. It's hard for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God. It's hard for a rich man or a prosperous man to have a relationship with Christ. When you're going down the road and you see the billboard that says Jesus saves, if you have a couple $1 million in the bank and you're driving your new BMW and you got a good corporate job and your life you're killing it according to the standards of your friends and family, you read that, you're like, well, Jesus saves me what? From this nice car, from my $4,000 suits, from my $2 million home. What do you mean Jesus saves? But you take the guy that doesn't know where his next meal is going to come from, and he reads that, he sees things very differently. He's in a position to listen because he needs saving, and he can't save himself. So, that's really where that comes from. So a guy that's successful is in great risk, and that's why the scriptures are there. But if you read on, it goes on to say, but anything is possible with God. What you find, and what I found is I also achieved a level of success that I'd never dreamed of. And I pursued it with vigor. I bought everything that my heart desired, from Rolex watches to bespoke suits to $1 million homes. I can't hide from it. It's all been on display the last decade. And I found the exact same thing. There is no satisfaction in it. Actually, there's more misery and less happiness than I had without it. And it took me a long time to come to that understanding, but I realize it now. That's not where happiness comes from. You may think that until you get it, and then once you get it, then you realize that it doesn't have much value at all. Actually, the responsibility and the worry that comes with looking after it starts to become a great burden to you. So I'm going to make a lot of assumptions, but I have to assume that you're probably treading the same road, the path that I was on and am on, right? And you're like, man, I just don't have any peace. I'm looking for contentment. I want to. There's a hole in my heart. Something's missing that I haven't been able to fill with any of this: alcohol, liquor, weed, whatever, wealth, money, toys, guns, women. We're trying to make the engine. If God created us as an engine, as a machine, we're trying to make it run on something it was never made to run on. We're trying to make a diesel engine run off gasoline or whatever. The recipe for happiness and success is the Holy Spirit, is God, is something that comes from Him. That's what the missing component is. In the past, guys I'd say, get yourself plugged into a good Bible believing church, but the state of the Western church is deplorable, and the quality of people there, and the lack of true teaching, and the importance more upon the smooth word and not offending anyone has watered down the gospel to the point where it's no longer the Western church. By and large, it's just of no value anymore, and actually a detriment. So where do you go? It's a hard thing. I'm not saying this because I want your $5 a month. I'm saying this because there's been great benefit to myself and the Warband of our morning Bible meetings. We pray for one another. We get into the scripture and we tackle the hard things. We don't hide from anything. And I've benefited from it, and a lot of people have benefited from it. It's been 3 weeks, I think, since we've had one because of circumstances. Been out of town, and we got sick, and then I went to Mexico. But I'll be towards the end of the week. Give me a couple more days to get back on my feet. Those would be going again. And if it's worth a $5 investment to you, and I'm not doing it to make money, I'm doing it because if I don't, they'll be interrupted and destroyed by our enemies. Our enemies are not willing to invest $5, and so it keeps them out. So it keeps our group small, and it's a safety fence. That's why we do it. So I would encourage you to become a member, and in 2 or 3 days, when the Bible study starts back up again, when I'm feeling better, you will get the invitation, and you can join us. And if you can't make the live streams, I do the daily streams, and this is what I'd recommend you do. And I'm not saying this is the only avenue, but this is an avenue that I can vouch for, that you will get the gospel, whether you like it or not, and you can make your own decision from there. So anything worth doing is worth putting a little time into. Give us 4 weeks, give it a month. And if you come out on the other side, and it's a perfect opportunity too. And this goes to not just you, but anyone who's listening. If you don't know God's word, if you don't know what this is all about, what's this Christian faith about, we're going to be starting at the beginning of the gospel, and there couldn't be a better time to join. So become a member, and wait for that invitation, and join the Warband. And that invitation goes out to any of you. And we'll start with that. That's what I can offer you. But thank you, Tyler. And I'll tell you the truth. A man that makes a comment like that, I don't care what your knowledge of the Bible is. I don't care what your background is. None of that matters. A man that seriously inquires, as Tyler just did, is closer to God than many Christians, if not most of them that are pew sitters. I'll tell you the truth. And God has a very special blessing He pours out on people, men and women, that come to Him with a sincere heart. It doesn't got nothing to do with your knowledge or what you've done or how good of a person you are. Seeking truth, if you seek truth genuine, with a genuine heart, if you come with a broken and contrite heart, truly seeking wisdom and help, man, I envy you. God is closer to you than many men have ever known. And I do envy you. And don't let this opportunity to waste. Opportunity doesn't come very often. And the adversary is there to steal away this opportunity. And he will raise up roadblocks, and he will bring doubts into your mind like you've never had before. And anything he can do to get you from becoming part of this Bible study, he will throw up in front of you, making you think that this is silly, making you think that I'm just grifting or what have you, or you're too busy, or you can't get up early and do this. He will do that. And but be knowledgeable about that. Be aware of it. And when you feel the press, when you feel everything telling you that you shouldn't do it, understand that there is a war taking place right now. God is warring for your soul, and the adversary will be right there nipping at your heels. So get ready to fight, because it will be a fight. Christianity is for fighting, is a fighting man's religion. It's not this soft soap that the Western churches have taught us for far too long. It's a man's religion, and I invite you to come join us and start with that. But thank you for that, Tyler. We have a super chat from Mr. Dave. Dave Schapp says, America started to fall when we allowed mass immigration from non-European countries. Demographics is destiny. Yeah, it's true. Not all cultures are equal. And I know that's not going to be popular, but that's just a simple fact. Some people are better than others. And this isn't about racism or elitism. It's just the way that it is. I don't know why. I don't know why it is the way that it is, but anyone can be saved. The good book says that whosoever will may come. And that being African or Indian or Russian or South American, whatever, whosoever will may come. And by and large, I think that one of the main reasons why Northern Europe and Europeans and Western civilization has been so successful is because they've been a Christian nation, and that they've inherited the benefits of God's mercy. Now, God's hand of protection is being lifted off this country. I think that's why we're having the troubles that we've enjoyed for so long, but it gets to the point where God will not be mocked. And, we say that, I say this in tongue in cheek, I don't mean to be irreverent, but if the Almighty doesn't act and punish this country for our transgressions, and look at the abortions, look at the ungodliness, look at the sodomites and the filthiness in our media and in our culture, if he doesn't step in to intervene and do something about this, he's going to owe Sodom and Gomorrah an apology, because, we're reaching that level. But you're not wrong, Dave. But let's not take all the credit. I do believe, in all honesty, that the reason for the industriousness and the advancements of our culture is because we have been a Christian nation in Christian nations. So I give credit to God. It changes you when you're close to God. It changes your character. It changes your outlook, and that's all of the civilization that's been built up from that are a benefit of that. We have a super chat from PT Muds, who writes, hello, Cody. I have some very old and untouched Norton abrasive stones that are just for sharpening gouges. They are yours if you'd like. God bless you and your family. I would like that. One thing I am lacking is things for sharpening gouges, especially if they're shaped. I don't know exactly what. You send me an email, Cody@Wranglerstar.com. I would be honored. It would be very generous of you. Thank you for that. I like very interested in sharpening. It's I always like to get better. Mr. Tony Bologna is giving me relaying a message from Mrs. W, who says Mrs. W has supper ready. Well, I didn't. What time is it? Oh, it's almost 6 o'clock. Well, I better get in. I'm going to shut this down. Welcome, Tyler Candy, our newest member. Looking forward to having you as a member of the Warband, and to see you over on the live stream. And again, and to the Warband members, give me a couple more days to get back on my feet, and towards the end of the week, I hope to be back, and we will get right back after it. It's just things have been going on. You guys know. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers. I sure appreciate all the super chats. I appreciate all the great comments and questions and your time. It's very encouraging to me. Pray for us. Pray for the sweet loaf. And Lord willing, we'll see you on tomorrow on video, and see if we can't get that cat sorted out and that oil pressure fixed.